Hey, all, before we get into tonight's segment, I just wanted to give everyone a big thank you and let you know how much I truly appreciate you. All your comments, your likes, your shares, and of course, your subscriptions. Now, also, I wanted to let you guys know that I'm actually an Amazon affiliate now. What that means is I'm going to start placing links in my bio of these videos. Links to products that I use, like this microphone, the camera, my computer, monitors, or even some of my sound deadening. So if you decide to click on something and you like it, and you decide to make a purchase, I would actually get a percentage of that buy. Even if you don't feel like buying anything, it's totally okay. But if you use any of my links and you're browsing around Amazon and you decide to purchase something else, the way it works is I still would actually get a few pennies of that purchase. It's my first step on monetization of this channel. Now, YouTube has actually helped us out a little bit where they've actually dropped the number of subscriptions you actually need to become monetized. Same thing with viewing hours. So on that, if you guys check this stuff out, stay tuned. And please share, like, subscribe, everything you can do. We want to get these viewing hours up and we got to get these subs up. Because the goal is we want to be monetized by the time the political season comes around. Because we know that's going to be fun. All right, so on that, I'm going to let you guys go. Let's get into tonight's segment. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon. Words are violence. According to the state of Michigan, they are. Yesterday, the state of Michigan House actually passed a bipartisan bill, Bill number 4474. It's an extension of the Michigan Hate Crime Act. Now, many of you out there are probably thinking, well, wow, that's good. It's just going to protect the marginalized, the minorities, and, the oppressed. But then maybe there are some of you out there that actually heard about it and think, man, I heard that if I hurt someone's feelings, I can go to jail. Well, that's why we're here today, kids, is we're actually going to go over it, and we're going to get to the truth. Now, what you have here is the actual bill. I will have the links, to the bill in the bio. And of course, I welcome you. Please go to the link, check it out, download it, and read it yourself. Now, before we get into this, I want you guys to understand that this is a government document. Therefore, any pauses, stops, hesitations are considered hard stop. Also, when it comes to government documentation, laws, they are literal. So keep in mind the wording of this law. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is, as you can see on screen, there are some sentences that are crossed out. Well, the reason being is this is the amended bill, meaning that this is not the final bill that's going to be printed and enacted. But what I am going to read to you is the final bill. So remember, going through this, we're going to disregard the information that has a line through it. That is all redacted. That does not count as part of the bill. So let's go through it. And once again, please pay attention because the wording is very important. Let's begin. The people of the state of Michigan enact. Section 147B, a person is guilty of a hate crime if that person maliciously, now we have to skip to the next words. If that person maliciously and intentionally does any of the following to an individual based in whole or in part on an actual or perceived characteristic of that individual listed under subsection 2, regardless of the existence of any other motivating factors. Now, what they are saying here, following to an individual based whole in part of an actual or perceived characteristic of the individual listed under the subsection. The individual they are referring to is the victim, not the accused, not the lawmaker, not the police officer. So what they are telling you here is the perceived characteristics of the individual listed under the subsection, or any of the motivating factors. So what we're doing is we're looking at this from the point of view of the victim. Now, what it's going to do, it's going to provide us a listing of what is considered crime. So what it does, it goes into the use of force or violence, any cause of bodily harm to the victim, or any other individuals, intimidation, damages, destruction, defaces any real personal, digital, or online property of another individual without the consent of the individual. They're referring to the victim. Now, this is very, very important. All of this is very important because what you're talking about here is you're talking about a digital platform or a social media platform because they are talking about personal, digital, or online property of the individual. So it's not only that. This is where the right will come in and say, well, I can be arrested for just hurting somebody's feelings. Well, actually, from a certain point of view, they are correct. Because this next subsection, if you read it, threatens, okay, by word or act to do any of the actions described under subdivisions A through D. Now, you go to the next section, the actual perceived characteristics of another individual referenced under subsection 1 include all of the following, which means if you make a threat to an individual, regardless, they're not talking about a physical threat. They're talking about by word or act. So if you try and jump at them, it could be a threat. If you say something that they find threatening, it is a threat. And they're talking about on race, religion, color, you name it, gender identity or expression, physical or mental disability, age. Basically, what they're saying is don't be a dick. Very simple. Now, as you continue down the list, okay, now they're talking about even if the individual is part of an association like BLM or Proud Boys, if you make a disparaging comment about that group and they're part of it, that can be considered a threat. It depends on the perception of the characteristic from the individual. See where it's going? I hope so. Because even if you say it one-on-one, it can be perceived as a threat. If you say it on a social media platform, it can be a threat. And I'm sure some of you have been to Facebook jail for making comments. Now, as you continue through the bill, okay, it goes on to tell you about except as provided in subsections for a person who violates the subsection is guilty of a felony punishable by imprisonment for not more than 2 years or by a fine no more than $5,000 or both. That's for first offenders. Now, the rest of this goes into individuals who have prior records. Now, why this is important is think about this. You're driving in your car. Somebody cuts you off. You get angry. You honk the horn. You flip them off. Guess what? Depending on the person in that other car, that can be viewed as a threat. It's based on the perception of the characteristics of what you are doing. Really. Two friends could be having a conversation, telling jokes. Someone else that's not part of that conversation comes in, hears part of that joke, completely misses the context of the conversation. It makes them feel uncomfortable. They feel threatened by your conversation. That is a felony. You're arguing with somebody. You say, that's dumb. Whatever the argument's about, you can just say it's dumb. Or you can say, you're an idiot for having that thought. That can be taken as a threat because it's based on the characteristics of the perception of the victim's point of view. You're sending emails back and forth. The other person has pronouns listed in their bio. She might go by she, her, or whatever they want to go by. In the title of your email, you could misgender them. That can be constituted as a threat based on perception. That is what this bill does. It's just outlandish. This is what you vote for. This is what people in the state of Michigan vote for. How 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 do you defend it? How do you prosecute it? Someone goes to a store and you don't even say anything, and you're lying, and something happens, and just because of the way you look, someone might feel intimidated. You might say even a simple hello because they're an introvert. They might get creeped out by it, then feel threatened. They call security. You're a felon because it's their perception of what they feel is threat. It could be simple speech, a joke, anything. The left is trying to censor so many things that you do something wrong, say something wrong. They try to cancel you. Now, I'm not saying hate speech or causing physical harm or threatening an individual is good. It's not. But all it takes is one case. One. And it ruins somebody's life for 2 years and up to $5,000. A simple, what you would think is a common exchange from, to say, your point of view. You don't mean any harm. You're not trying to cause trouble. You might just state an opinion. It can be construed as threatening. It makes them uncomfortable. A priest giving a sermon outdoors, a passerby who doesn't believe, perceives it from their point of view as a threat, especially if they're talking about the fiery depths of hell. That is what this bill does. But just letting you know. So that's the truth of it. All it takes is one extreme situation. And the way society is today, what we view as extreme right now has become commonplace tomorrow, or will be commonplace tomorrow. It will. We see it. It's been happening for the last 10 years. And you know it's true. So think about this. You can continue to vote for people who actually enact bills like this, who say that they're trying to protect you, when in fact they're actually trying to strip you from your rights. But that's your choice. You know, you can choose to wake up or not, stay asleep. I'd rather be awake than woke. So, but on that, I'm going to let you go. Do what you will with this information. Check it out. And just remember, vote angry and God save the Queen. See you guys next time. Good night.